You're an Egyptian who has advocated for human rights and democracy in the Arab region for over 4 decades now. You were one of the first people to speak out against Hosni Mubarak's regime, and you were actually then jailed, tortured, and forced into exile in order to scare you into silence.
Right, correct.
It didn't exactly work, did it?
It didn't. Things at least paid off after all those years of, shall we say, sacrifice or struggle. It all ended well for Egypt and hopefully for the rest of the region.
Why do you think that this particular revolution in Egypt succeeded over a decade after you first spoke out?
First of all, they're educated, they became more committed, and they persisted. And they used all the techniques, peaceful techniques, non-violent techniques, that enabled more and more of the middle class and upper middle class and the rest of society to rally to their support. And ultimately, they were able, through their persistence and through their courage and determination, and also moderation, because they did not ask for drastic things. They really started with very reasonable demands, and they kept escalating the demand with every step along the way. So in many ways, it was an ideal revolution. Peaceful, but yet very effective and very comprehensive, gathering a lot of the different groups and sectors of the society around the young revolutionaries in Tahrir Square. So in many ways, the young people who really staged that revolution were smarter than my generation, were more persistent and more resourceful than my own generation. So I have to really take my ta'iyya or my hat in admiration for their genius, for their revolutionary skill in staging one of the greatest revolutions in history.
Well, many would say that young Egyptians, who many of them have never even known anything but repression under Mubarak's regime, they would be ignorant or apathetic. That's what's expected of them. But what does it say about them that they actually took action, took risks to fight for freedoms that they never even knew?
Well, you know, sometimes these readings of a society, even though based on some wisdom, but conventional wisdom does not always explain what younger generations think or feel. Even though every country has its own unique experience, yet there is a lot of learning that's taking place globally now, everywhere. Even, you know, the demonstrations in Wisconsin, for example, in the Midwest of the United States. They have signs carrying "Fight like an Egyptian" or being inspired by Tahrir. This kind of learning, and of course Egyptian revolutionaries learned also not only from Eastern Europe, but also from their Iranian colleagues 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when the mullahs in Iran frauded the elections, the parliamentary elections, and the young people exposed that and demonstrated in the streets and met with a lot of violence. And when the mullahs shut down the internet in Iran, immediately Egyptian bloggers put their own blogs at the disposal of their Iranian colleagues without knowing them. Just an act of spontaneous regional solidarity. And I'm adding to that, there is also global solidarity among young people across continents, across oceans. And when you see in Iowa, towns of Iowa, signs saying "Fight like an Egyptian," be inspired by the spirit of Tahrir, you wonder, you know, what is happening globally. It is all positive, and I think it is something that we have to salute.
The youth have led the revolution and the process in transitioning to democracy, but do you think that they can lead the country, actually? Should they lead the country? What role do you see them
Well,
playing?
you know, in many of the revolutions of the world, if any student of history knows, that revolutionaries between the age of, let's say, 25 and 35 led their countries after the revolution, including the American Revolution, the English Revolution, even the Egyptian Revolution. Nasser was 34 when he led the Egyptian Revolution in 1952. So our young revolutionaries are capable, or they could, if given the chance. Of course, they will make mistakes, and that is in their entitlement. This is a human right, is to make a mistake. But they have enough dedication, enough sincerity, and they are in an age where they can learn quickly from experience and from others. So I am hopeful that they will be the best guardian for their own revolution by taking active role in the political process, and hopefully they will run for the parliament, and they will put a candidate even for the presidency who is younger than 40 years, in his 30 or even the 20s. I don't see anything wrong with that, and as a matter of fact, in my own writing, I have been advocating that.